Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're gonna talk about file management for photographers. It's a very neglected topic, so let's dive deep into it. Now, what exactly is the problem? Well, while the photograph equipment has become super cheap and everybody has their in pocket, consequences we are taking bonkersly large amount of photographs, bonkersly large amount of videos. So and it could include two categories. One is commissioned work, somebody is paying you to do that, or personal work, you are taking the photograph for yourself. So here's the deal. Photographs are one of those things that have temporal value, meaning if you're taking a photograph of your kid, it's not that important as of now. 10 years from now, that will be okay, some importance. 20 years from now, lot of importance. 100 years from now, priceless. So photographs are one of those things, and we have gone through this. There are people who meticulously take care of their albums and they still have photos, while other people who, yeah, who cares, it's there, and then one day open it, it's like it's completely molded and destroyed, then it's like oops. So it's one of those things. We have learned it the hard way that you must have proper maintenance, even for digital file. If you do not have that, you are causing your future self, not someone else. Let that be very clear. The priceless photos are priceless to you, they are meaningless to anyone else. So you are causing your future self a lot of pain and hurt, especially if it's something important. I have seen bonkersly large amount of people who, and during some bad events where they have to give a photograph, they're like, let me look at it. They don't have a good photo. It should not be that hard, but again, nobody does the management part. That's why they all suffer. So you have to understand it. And here's the deal. How do you know that you have a good system? Thou shall not outsmart yourself. Meaning, if you have thinking going on where it's like, I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna apply these and then I'm gonna do this, yeah, you failed. You failed. Do not oversmart yourself. Be as simple, as elegant as possible. Don't think. Basically, the moment you think, you messed up. Because again, our thinking changes based on time. That's why we cannot rely on ourselves. Trust me, programmers, software developers, all of these people have learned the hard way. You cannot outsmart us. Trust me. Just trust that part. You cannot outsmart. You cannot have a complex system. And it has to be very simple, very thorough, and routine. Meaning, if you are a person who was like, okay, I'm taking a lot of photos, I'm gonna backing it up, it has to be a routine for you. Because if something messed up, right, let's say data corruption happened or something unexpected happened, you need to know. You cannot be like, wait until it's completely unsolvable, then worry about it. So for that reason, we have to be very mindful. While Google Photos and all that is cool, they are not what you call put and forget. They're not even close to what you need in order to for have recovery. We'll talk more about that. So let that be clear. This is a problem, and all of the photographers, all of the hobbyists, everybody is facing this, and very few people are taking active steps today so they can have a good tomorrow where they're like, hey, I have all the photos. Trust me, like we kind of lost the priceless fact of albums where they're like, oh, this album, you can like sit down with a kid and show them photos and all that. We used to do that. I'm that old, but we no longer do that, and nobody even recalls any photographs that is like 10-15 years old. So trust me, there is a genuine problem. So first line of defense you have is the naming convention. Now, why is that? Well, many times you may think, what about the metadata that has all this stuff? Yeah, that's the first thing to go. If you have in copy pasting file from one to another, yeah, that's that file is not guaranteed to travel. And again, if you're uploading it, that's also not guaranteed. You're uploading it Facebook, Instagram, yeah, that's not guaranteed. And be mindful, those things also rename your file. So yeah, good luck with that. So metadata is not a robust thing because it's the first thing to go. Even if you are downsampling, there's a very good chance many software just yeet metadata layer. And many times you may have some privacy setting that is eating the EXIF data without you knowing it. So metadata layer is the first thing to go. Do not trust it. Photo should be trustable, but the metadata, you're like, if it's there, awesome. If it's not there, so it's one of those things. So how do you catalog things? First thing you will say about date, I can catalog with date. Yeah, here's the problem. Many people who do not understand how computers work, they will assume that computer will always know when the file was created. It's a digital file, it has digital fingerprint. Yes and no. Windows, the moment you create a folder in Windows and let's say you have a file in Windows, it could have multiple dates. For example, it has 4 dates by default. Date created, it's not the date that you're supposed to take the photo, it's the date when the file was created on the memory. Then date modified when you opened it up with any application, be it Lightroom, whatever have you. Date accessed when you opened it but you did not save it. Date taken, that's the actual part. And be mindful, date taken is most likely destroyed most of the time. So you see, there are 4 dates. Just on a simple thing, you're like, hey, like for example, date created is 2022, but date modified is 2023. So far so good, but here's the deal. I know because I need properly. It was taken in 2018. So what is that 2020? 2022 is the file when I dumped all the memory on the hard drive. So this date created is from the hardware's perspective. On 2022, you created a file inside me, not the photo. So this is very critical aspect. You must take care of it while you are taking the photo, otherwise it becomes hell of a hassle. That's why you cannot trust metadata layer. Many times it will be lost, many times it simply won't be there. So what about keywords? Now keywords are also a good thing to do, especially if you are working in Lightroom, or most photo editing software does allow you keywords. Now here's the problem with keywords. Where are they saved? That's the hard part. Many times you can like in this sort of system, right click keywords and see all the labels, but it's not guaranteed. So keywords are generally not put in EXIF data. EXIF data is the data which has supposed to have all your camera data, basically which camera it is, which lens it is, which technical settings was used. All of the technical stuff about the photo should be in EXIF file data. Generally these are deleted for privacy reason. And again, your geotag would be also in EXIF data. Then you have IPTC data. Now the people who are working in broadcast industry, people are working with media, they know this. Now IPTC is again another package. In that package, you generally put your keywords, your who is the author, who's supposed to have the copyright. Basically, people who are dealing with all the paperwork, buying and selling of the equipments, they generally have to pay attention to that. Media specifically. So this is container specifically created to handle that sort of information. Then you have operating system, which you will never know where actually that file is. That operating system stores that date created, date modified, date access, all of those things. So you see, like that is why I say metadata layer is not just put and forget. You have to be very methodic about it. So in short, in long term, file name is the most stable thing, because if you're copy pasting file, metadata layer could be destroyed. Or again, you did not knew this, you are not paying attention, you will think the date created is the date actually actual short date. That will backfire. So metadata is not that stable. Again, it's because of human error, but that's the whole reality of it. We are living with ourselves. You have to compensate for that. Sorry about that. So file name is the most stable in long run, meaning I can copy paste these folders hundreds of times and I will never lose their organization, because again, I put the date exactly in the name. I will never have to worry about it. So what naming convention you must use? There is only one. That will be very clear. That's why I'm saying do not oversmart yourself. There is only one that works mathematically, computer wise. Year, month, date, hours, minutes, seconds, 24-hour format. You're not supposed to use AM and PM. You can use it, not recommended. And then the camera sequence. Why do you need camera sequence if you have time till second? Many of the cameras have burst rate, so you can have like 120 frames inside a second. So they cannot all have one file name. So sequence coding is there. Now, why do you need to use this exact format? Now, year, month, date. The reason is this is lexicographical. What does that mean? That simply means if you have ever opened any dictionary, damn, I'm old. If you have opened any dictionary, you must have seen like it always starts A, B, 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 B. That's how it goes. Now, as the computer is reading from this to this direction, basically it's going from left to right. So, or your left to right. So it will read the first digit. That will be the first anchor point. Then it goes to. So now imagine if you did the stupid thing where you had basically date. Here's the 02 and 02 can happen multiple times in a year, right? It's like multiple month, multiple times date number 2 will happen. How would computer know which to organize? It's a reading from this side. So people have to go there, date created and date modified, but those will be destroyed if you're copy pasting it. That's why it has to be in the name itself. Now you do not have to worry about it. Another aspect, you must have just 04, 03, 02, because if you put 1, right, let's say you have 1 January, right, 0, instead of 01, you just put 1. Here's the problem. After 1, the date, next date is 11. So you will have 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're like, what the hell happened? That's the whole problem. That's why it must be 01, 02, 03. You must do that for date. You must do that for year also. And you must also do that because again, in years, if you are going before 2000, you will have that issue. So that's why you must use that 4 digit all for 2018, 2019, all that, month, again, full 0809, and then date 01, 02, 03. So you do not have the issue where it's like date number 1, date number 11, date number 13, date number 15, then date number 2, then date number 21, 23, 24. See, it must be this. And this, again, this is what we call Japanese date system, lexicographical and chronological. So you can arrange it clockwise, ascending or descending without ever messing it up. That's why must use this naming convention. There is nothing else that mathematically works. And one good news is that Android photographs already have this. If you're taking mobile photos in Android, they have this naming convention. It's machine readable, but it is there. I'll explain further. So be mindful. Do not change from this. Do not have like a month. I'm just going to write 1. No. Date 1. No. Must be 01, 02, 03. Otherwise, you're going to suffer seriously. So that is why this is the naming convention you must follow in all the things. There is no if, else, that, no. Do not oversmart yourself. Now, after this, let's say after you wrote this system, right? This folder is there. I can write wedding. I can write honeymoon. I can write anniversary, whatever have you. You can go YOLO on that. But do not go YOLO before the naming. Naming must be the first thing so computer can read it. So you can organize it without ever messing it up. So this is the first rule you must follow, naming convention. Okay, so that's what we want to do. How do we do it? Thankfully, because again, Lightroom is a photographic specific tool, it has options. Meaning if you're taking what most people do, generally take the photographs, they dump it into their computer using Lightroom. Lightroom imports it. During this process, Lightroom is copying all the files from your card and dumping into hard drive or SSD, whatever have you. In that time, it has the option of rename. You can select the rename file. You open the rename, you will get custom name, custom this, and then there will be this. Now here's it. You will not find this. Why not? It's custom. I created it. So you click the edit button. You create this sequence in the file name template editor. In that editor, you create whatever sequence you need to create. Now, in my case, it's year, month, date, hours, minute, second, then camera sequence. Again, in that camera sequence, you can even have a custom sequence, or it could be very simple where it's like, hey, wedding, or you can put custom names there also. So, and this is for importing. So when I'm taking dumping all the card memory into my computer, this is being followed, and I do not have to worry about it after that. I do not have to worry about it. It's there, it's sorted, date copied, date modified. And again, even if accept data is removed or disabled in the camera, because again, for say privacy reason, people do disable it. I never have to worry about it. It's sorted. So please remember, and this is how you take care of it in Lightroom. Now, after Lightroom, what if you have other files from other system? Lightroom is not your pipeline. You can go into bulk renamer tool. This is a free tool. Now, be mindful, for commercial use, it is paid tool. So in that, there is a auto date section, number 8. In that, you can click basically date type and format to be custom. In that format, you have to write this signature, percentage year dash percentage month dash percentage day. Again, exact formatting. All you are doing is creating the format. Now, be mindful, many software make this mistake, and that's why like Lightroom is a photo specific system. It will always try to find the EXIF data. If it does not, it will not tamper with it. Other companies can be like, hey, it's a computer system. It may be like date created from the computer's point is matter. So please check it. And that's why you have to do it when you are taking the photo, because again, if you know, the cameras have a capacitor that keeps the clock running. So if you're changing the battery, camera does not forget the time. But what happens if you remove the battery for too long? And old cameras generally used to forget their date in like 4 or 5 hours. So if you remove the battery, nothing was there in the camera body, yeah, the date will start to slip. So for that reason, if you do it every day, or like again, if it's a weekly thing, you shoot over a week, then dump, then you can, if you are doing it at that point, you're like, wait a minute, why in 2024, why all my photos are showing 2023 or 2022? Or again, generally, if battery fails, company are designed in such a way that firmware resets to the time of manufacturing. So if you're like, hey, if I remove the battery and put it back in, it goes to 2002, that's what when the firmware was written for it. So you have to understand that. That's why do it regularly. Do not apply too much complexity to it. Very simple: year, month, date, hours, minute, second, and camera sequence. Do not have to go harder than that. Bulk renamer tool also allows you to do this on pre-existing system, meaning, for example, if you have Google Drive, you can download all the photos in it, all of it. Again, people do that year over to make a backup. Now, in that, the file format would be lol, unless you uploaded the correct one. So in those sort of scenario, bulk renamer tool is here to save your day. Another aspect is, thankfully, is that Android users do not have to worry about it, because Android by default saves year, month, date, hours, minutes, seconds. Only tiny issue, it's not human readable, because again there is no space or any symbol. Basically they're only using one symbol, underscore. So it creates an issue, how the heck you gonna read it. Again, you can take the same file and have, like, put underscore here, put underscore here, put a dot here, dot here. Again, it's not necessary. It will work, but it's like very confusing for us. It's like, you must have seen Android date and time, it's like two big numbers, but it does not make sense because there is no symbols there. I have no idea, like Android is so close. And I hate all camera manufacturers. This should be default function in all of them. Default. And again, they do not even need to have camera sequence. They could be like, hey, if you are shooting slowly, second. If you're shooting inside a second, then it has sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, be mindful. Android is good in that, but because of there is no separator, it's very hard to read. But these are the tools, two tools that can help you. Most likely you do not need more than that. There is one application that claims to do this in Android phone. I have not had much luck with it. That's what I'm not sharing. But if you have good luck with it, do share. So these are the tools part of it. Now, so far, how the heck you do the management? But here's the deal. After you did the management, you have to store the file or archive it. Now, digital data is very fragile. Not because the data is fragile, it's simply because we are careless with it. Meaning, if you have a family album, you must have seen like how old people used to put it in a plastic bag, then properly close it and put it there. It's like there is some care put into it. Digital file, we do not, it's on a hard drive. Like, which hard drive? Many times nowadays we have multiple hard drive. Have you remembered to copy it from that hard drive to another hard drive? Have you checked that file is not corrupted? Be mindful. Hard drives are not archival grade, meaning no matter what hard drive you buy, hard drive is a short-term data storage. Best case scenario, 5 to 8 years if you are continuously running it, like in a server. That's why servers consume hard drive. And if you are just like, okay, I dumped all the data on a hard drive and I'm going to put in a fridge, yeah, that's only going to last 10 years, because after that the oils in the bearings will seep out and voila, the hard drive would be bricked. And even if the hard drive is working after 10 or 12 years, good luck, the data will be corrupted because it's not designed for that. The data, the magnetic domain will flip out. So even the file name would be there. It's like you open the file, it's like, yeah, file corrupted. So be mindful. If any of you ever said with your mouth is like, I have everything backed up in hard drive, yeah, you better keep replenishing it. And then you're like, okay, how does cloud storage provider or server or corporations basically take care of it? They don't. They have to use what we call LTO. It's a tape drive specifically designed for corporate world. Tapes are quite cheap, like 7,000 to 8,000 rupees for 12 terabyte. Then it's like, why don't we buy it? It's like, yeah, the tapes are free. It's the drive where you put the tape that's expensive AF, meaning it's 3 lakh rupees for LTO 8 tapes. Reader. It's very expensive. And again, even in that, it's only designed for 15 to 30 years. And what company have to do every 10 years, they double check everything. So they have like 2 tapes, they cross check against each other, and then like, okay, do a checksum. If they find the issue, they will take it out from another source. Generally, there's supposed to be another tape or a hard drive, because again, 10 years you can touch other medium, and then they keep updating it. You have to keep checking it. That's the only way where corporations can handle data in long term, because again, by law, banks and all that have to have what you call data storage for 10 to 15, 25 years, if I'm not mistaken, by law. So how the heck you can trust your hard drive? You can't. And so what do we do? Well, there is a rule for it that gives the probability of survival very high. 3 to 1. 3, 2, 1. So 3 copy. Your data must be in 3 independent places. For example, if it's in your laptop, that's 1 place. It has to be in portable hard drive, that would be 3rd place. Then it's somewhere else in cloud, that's 3. And then it must be in 2 medium, meaning if all the hard drive is in, basically all of them are digitally saved on cloud servers, it's not safe, because if you have internet failure, it's gone. Medium, basically 2 medium should be there and 1 offsite, for example. So generally what you will do, you will have 1 hard drives that are in your computer that has all your photo, 1 second backup that has all your photo. For 2 medium, you're gonna burn DVDs of it. Okay, and then you're gonna take basically clone the DVD and then send it somewhere else or put it in a bank. Basically the idea is, if you are in an office or any workplace, everything is fine, everything is dandy, you have high grade network attached storage, everything is backed up and all that, and you have drives also, just in case a virus or ransomware destroys your system, you still have backups of it. Awesome. But what happens if flooding happens? Everything is in one place, that means you have single point of failure. That's why 1 offsite must be there. And again, same happens with corporate tape drives. They never store all the tapes in one location. All the tapes, basically clone 1 would be in one place, clone 2 would be in another place, clone 3 would be some bank vault. And it has to be randomized that way. So that's the only way. And many people have fallen victim to that cloud, right? Cloud simply, oh, it's cloud. It's not cloud, it's computer that is somewhere else. And it's just mechanical hard drives, or if it's a very cheap cloud, generally nowadays it will be SSD, which is again, hopefully they are copying, pasting data from old SSD to new SSD regularly without corrupting the data, which again, many times people have found that, hey, I uploaded this much file and it's corrupted. Yeah, it happens. If the data server provider on the other end is not very thorough, yeah, oops can happen. And there is no recourse. That's why 3 to 1. Trust on one copy equals 0. So, and again, another aspect is you have to pay for cloud storage. Any cloud storage that is free is dangerous, because again, for short duration is good, but for long duration is dangerous, because how the heck they are paying for the servers? It cannot be free. If you're old enough as I am, you must have known that when Google launched Pixel lineup, they were like, upload all your photos, like full resolution photos, like 12 megapixel, if I'm not mistaken, at that time, that you can upload 12 megapixel photo, not 2 megapixel thumbnails, so to say, in your Google photos. Everybody was like, yeah, awesome. Google changed that policy now. No longer they are accepting full resolution. So be very mindful, be very thorough of this. So policies can change, and again, you can have payment failure. For example, if you use a credit card to sign up to, let's say, Google Drive or OneDrive, and then again it's gonna keep doing it 5 years. Here's the deal: your card generally expires 5 years. What after that? And again, if you did you remember to recycle it exactly at the right time? If you failed, generally companies will send you an email, but do you actually read every single email that comes in? And how would you know that email is not some, like, either A, scam, B, or some, like, oversell? It's like, hey, you can upgrade to premium subscription and all that. Again, we do make this mistakes. That's why we have learned that most companies only keep your data for 15 to 60 days after they oopsed it. So if you deleted your like basically account was deleted, they will give you 60 days from that day. Save your file at that point in time, or poof. So policy change, payment failure, just a simple payment failure is most likely. And then you have bankruptcy. Again, any company that is like, oh, we are the company, we're never gonna, dude, bigger company have come and disappeared. So trust me. And again, any company that is giving way too cheap, press X for doubt. That's why cloud backup is not magical. So question becomes, what you and I can do? Thankfully, DVDs are still a thing, meaning optical media is still a thing, and you can trust this thing. Why? Here's it. Is it 10 times better than hard drive? Hell no. But it has the oops proof, meaning it's not oops. For example, I have a lot of video calls that are important. Basically, if I'm talking to someone important, I'm like, okay, let's capture it. And it's like on 22, 24, I keep recording. But here's the deal. What can I not do to these things? I cannot accidentally delete it. I cannot accidentally format it. I cannot have ransomware going into this, because once the file is written, once the file is verified, once I check it, play it and all that, nothing oops can happen. Now again, the disk could fail, but likelihood is now much less. The digital data is most vulnerable to user error, not anything else. Again, payment and all that, again, user error itself. So user is the biggest threat to the data. All the DVDs, all the CDs that I used to collect back in my old days, in my childhood, that is around 20 years ago, all of them are still there. Hard drives, I don't even know. That back time, hard drives were like, 500 gigabyte hard drive. It's like, it's gone. So even if you have a hard drive, first, if you are using it, it's not going to last more than 8 years. If you're like, hey, I have a hard drive that works from 15 years ago, yeah, data would be corrupted. It would be corrupted. That's why no company stores it. Otherwise, nobody will build LTO tapes. So you have to go to optical media as a second medium, and be mindful, this is a small thing. Like this packet could easily store many photos, and you may like a JPEG raw I can't store. Yeah, that you can't store, but you can store full size JPEG, or more, better yet, full size HIF files. HIF files are new format right now. So if you have HIF files, you can store a lot, even in 4 gigabyte DVDs. Now you are like, why can't I try dual layer DVDs? Yeah, problem is they are surprisingly expensive. They are more expensive than Blu-ray. So if you are willing to pay 4,000 to 5,000 rupees for a keg like this for DVD, you will barely get per disc 8 gigabyte. Pay the same 50 disc set for Blu-ray, 4,000 rupees. That gives you around 22 GB per disc, something like this. So these are the options. And again, if you want like archive grade, meaning no oops should happen, that you can buy into what we call M-disc. Now CDs are very dumb device, because again, that was Mark 1 product. We were just building and then like, oops. So problem with CDs was like, you have polycarbonate, and then you have data layer, and then you have a vinyl layer on top. Yeah, it was exposed. It was a dumb idea. So in DVDs, they are like polycarbonate, a layer of data, then another polycarbonate, so it's laminated. So that's why DVDs are so robust from top scratches and bottom scratches. It's very robust, it's laminated. Now that is all good and well, but the data layer, the part that you buy, that is a die. It's a die that your laser changes. It changes its what you call opacity, so to say. It basically makes it darker where it burns the data. Awesome, cool, GG. Here's the minor issue with that. If you can do that with a laser, tiny laser, that is optical drive, it can be undone also. It can be damaged. Again, it's a state change, right? You bought everything that is in 0 state, you change something in 1 state, and then now you have your data. 000 was like 010000111. Now you have the data string. Awesome. But if you can change it that easily, something else can change it. For example, fungus, mold, ultraviolet, these sort of things. Exposure to the element basically can destroy that data layer. We have learned it the hard way. So during 1980s and 1990s, M-Disk was created. It was from JVC, if I'm not mistaken. It's a basically data layer that instead of using dyes that are super easy to write on, it uses a mineral layer. That's why M. So when you see M is mineral disk. Now that is very hard layer, meaning you need a very high power laser to write data to it. Thankfully, to read it is super easy. You do not need a custom player to read it, but write it, you need M-Disk, basically optical drive that has high enough power lasers. So if you're buying drives, optical drive, it must have that M-Disk stamp. Only then you can burn M-Disk. You can read M-Disk in everything, you just can't burn on it reliably on normal stuff. So this can handle very low temperature, very high humidity. Basically this, if you put it in a closet, nothing should happen to it. Nothing. Not for hundreds of years. Like there is no magnetic change, and again, mineral is inherently stable. Nothing will happen. Like for example, I dumped all my old data to this, all mobile photos to this. This is like, I think I made it in May 2022. So this disk that I have right now, it should not have any oops factor to it, meaning where like data got corrupted or lost. So that's the only thing consumer, you and I, can do for long-term data archiving, meaning where I can have some faith next 20 years, next 50 years, it will be there. Now, you may have an issue where it's like, hey, these drives are very expensive. It is. And you may be like, what if the drives are no longer manufactured? Do not worry about it, because Blu-ray is a consumer product. It was used to selling movies. Actual movies. There are people who have collections of it. So I can guarantee you, like same way right now there are companies whose sole job offering is, we provide services to digitize your negatives. They have like dedicated scanners and all that. Same people would be there even in future. And again, for something that is so common, so easily available, more than enough people would be there. Hey, it's like we can take it and scan it for you. So unless you encrypt it, if you encrypt it, then God help you. If you do not encrypt it, and again, encryption also, I don't have that much there, because again, they can clone that whole data into system. Any encryption that is built today would be super easy to crack tomorrow. So you do not have to worry about it. So for common people, you can do that. And again, if you are a photographer, you're commissioning thing it, you can give that disk like, hey, 1000 rupees extra for this disk. You can be doing that with M-Disk also, because again, M-Disks are a bit expensive. So normal M-Disk, even 22 GB one is expensive. And I have one BDXL variant. This has 90 GB in one disk. And I think highest capacity you can buy is a Sony quad layer Blu-ray. That is like, I think 110 GB one disk. So like this disk itself goes to 90 gigabytes. Very expensive. But again, you can do M-Disk data, and you can buy what we call Inkjet printable. And if you have Epson ink tank printers, again, it's a common thing. You can buy the tray and print it. Then you're like, okay, awesome. So it's an add-on that if you want to sell it to someone and they're like, hey, what we'll do with it? Here's just tell them, keep it. Don't do anything with it, just keep it. In your future, you will sort it out. If they're rich enough, they'll like, hey, just buy the Blu-ray player, or if they're like, hey, I'll give it to someone who knows what to do with it. And again, if it's like really well printed and it's like professional. So be mindful. These are the things where you can have long-term reliability. If you have 2-3 DVDs burnt, likelihood of some of them surviving for very long term, unless you physically break them, is very high. And it's not like magnetic decoupling will not happen. So for that reason, this is the only way where you can archive the data, where it's like, I have it, trust me, I have it for like long. It's not like, oh, 5 years ago, I put all the photos in my hard drive. Hey, why half of the photos are corrupted? Yeah, magnetic systems are not magnetic tapes. They are specifically built for that. They only last for 15 to 20 years. DVDs, CDs, I have older than that. And be mindful, CDs survived. DVD would be like, bruh, I got this. M-Disk DVD, it should be like, don't Do not worry about it. So this is why how you and I as a consumer can save a lot of data, photos specifically, without any issue for very long term. So this was my presentation on file management. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.